Well, welcome to another episode of Sheroes Unlimited. I'm Jaynie Morris, founder of BoomerBabeslife, the global community for women over 50. We're inspiring women all around the globe, and I'm excited that you are loving what we're doing. You're loving our podcast, you're loving our magazine, you're loving all the work that we're doing. And how do I know? It's because you're telling us, you're giving us your feedback, and we are doing what you ask us to do. So if you have read the August issue of BoomerBabeslife magazine, then you'll be very familiar with my very special guest today on Sheroes Unlimited. Now, she's Sydney-based in Sydney, Australia, for all of our international listeners. She is a brilliant actress. She's a fantastic animal activist. She's a passionate Boomer Babe. She's a honorary BoomerBabeslife ambassador. She doesn't know that yet, but I'm just making her that. She's an incredible woman who has had an incredible career, and we loved all the feedback that we got from her story in the BoomerBabeslife magazine. So we invited her to join us today. Lynda Stoner, welcome to Sheroes Unlimited.
Hi, Jaynie. It's so lovely to be here. Thanks for asking me on, and you are an inspiration. Everything that you've done, that you're doing, is just so inspiring. Thank you.
Oh, no, well, thank you very much. Now, as I mentioned in the introduction, and if you don't mind, I do actually want to get right into your life's work now and your main passions. But before we do, I'd like to let our audience just know a little bit more of the background of Lynda Stoner. Now, something that you didn't realize that I already knew, but your hometown is the same hometown as mine, which is Adelaide, South Australia.
Beautiful, beautiful place. I get back there at least once a year. You have the best vegan festival of anywhere, and I'm very lucky to have, for the past 5 years, been asked to go and speak there. So it's always a joy to get home. I always think about Adelaide as home.
So what was childhood like? What was school like? You went to Vermont Girls?
I did. My mum decided to split my sister and I up, and she sent my sister to Clinton, and she sent me to Vermont Girls. And while I might have outwardly, railed against not going to a co-ed school, inside of me I was so relieved and so happy. It was just wonderful to focus on school. I loved school. I just loved it. And they had the best drama facilities and art facilities, and it was a very progressive school. Sadly, I've learned it's been demolished now, but for many young women, it was a wonderful launching into the wider world to have been lucky enough to go to Vermont.
Was it at Vermont that you realized that you had an interest in acting, or was in drama and theatre?
Yeah, it was. It came earlier than that, when Mum used to drag my sister and I to Sunday school, and we would have little plays that each class would put on, and I would coerce my little sister and my next door neighbour to be in these appalling plays that I'd written and forcefully directed, and it was up to Mum when the money thing came around. You put in whatever you thought a play was worth, and it was up to poor Mum to bring our numbers up. So it started very young, and it was nurtured by Vermont because they did such great productions there, and they also brought a professional actor in to speak to the assembly, and I was gone. That was it. I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I left school and got jobs in Adelaide and Qantas and other things. But I always worked at night time backstage, whether it was doing props or sets or whatever, just doing that sort of stuff. And then I got some little walk-on bits, and then finally I got some speaking roles, and dreams do come true.
Well, they certainly do, and many of our audience will remember you well in such iconic shows as Prisoner and The Young Doctors, Cop Shop, of course, but also the Paul Hogan Show. What was it like working with Paul Hogan?
Oh my goodness. They were such innocent times, and I occasionally there'll be a look. I have a policy of never watching anything I've done. It's just I just can't do it. But somebody sent me a link to an old Paul Hogan thing that was up on YouTube, and it was just it seems like 3 lifetimes ago, and I think the sort of things that were covered in Paul Hogan back then may not be quite okay these days. It was very sort of the bimbos and the blokes, but anyway, look, they were lovely to work with, and it was a stepping stone to other things. So I can't entirely be ashamed of that.
Indeed. Now let's move on to when you started to become did you use your profile for animal activism, and what was the catalyst for that? Where does this passion come from that you have, Lynda?
I'd always loved animals, and we grew up with chooks at my grandparents, and always had dogs and cat, and I just got the gig in Cop Shop, and I was over in the lounge room of Mum and Dad's place in Glandore, and I was walking past the door, and I saw pups being bludgeoned and skinned alive, and I just was transfixed. And you see things on the news and they affect you, but then life gets in the way. But this just haunted me. I couldn't get it out of my head, and I was living in Melbourne then, so I went back there and I researched everything about seals and dolphins and whales, and it was still haunting me. And so on weekends, when I wasn't doing Cop Shop, I volunteered for the Wilderness Society, and I enjoyed it, but it still wasn't answering something in me. And somebody said to me, "Oh, a book's just come out that you must read by Professor Peter Singer called Animal Liberation." And so I left there and I got a copy of the book, and I was on my way home, and I read 3. By the way, I don't drive, so I was being driven. I hasten to add. 3 chapters, and that was it. That was my epiphany. I never ate meat again, and I went home to my little cottage in Melbourne and threw out all my leather and makeup that was tested on animals, and it changed the course of my life. That book just changed everything for me.
You are the chief executive of the Animal Liberation organisation in New South Wales. It's a pretty big role in a pretty important organisation in this arena. How do you manage that? How do you find that? Well, how's that working for you?
Really well. When I had my son Luke, he became the centre of my universe. He was just my everything. Continues to be my everything. And so between Luke and the animal rights movement, I stepped away from the animal rights movement when Luke was little, and then he was watching something on the news. Foxes were being killed, and he turned around and he said, "Mummy, make them stop." And I thought then, okay, I've got his blessing now to go back into this full time, and I did. And I went into Animal Lib. I volunteered for a long time with Animal Lib first, but in a paid position, I went back as the communications coordinator, and in the last 5 or 6 years, I've been the CEO, and I'm just really lucky to have an amazing group of people. We're all working remotely. I go into the office once a week, but because of the passion and dedication of the people I work with, our productivity is even higher than it was when we were working in an office. And so, in order to not go crazy, because we're looking at the most heinous things imaginable every day, just save going under. I just surround myself with family, books, and beautiful music, and our flat's like like a nursery. It's just like filled with plants, and I love flowers. I love beautiful things. So that offsets all of the horror that we bear with us too.
Do you think we're making inroads into animal welfare as a community, Lynda?
I do, Jaynie. I've been involved with this now for half a century, and back then I was considered to be bonkers, absolutely bonkers. Like even being vegetarian was seen as so radical. And I'm so lucky to have lived my long life and have seen all the changes that I've seen, you know, and I've lived to see things I never thought I would see, like, you know, banning testing on animals for cosmetics and so forth. And, you know, back then the word vegan hadn't been coined, and now it's mainstream. I mean, I've seen it go through its many incarnations and to be ridiculed, and now it's mainstream. And you know, particularly in Adelaide, the amount of vegan restaurants is extraordinary. And like I said, the vegan festival in Adelaide is the best, bar none, and it runs for 2 days, and you can find every cuisine you want. You want to eat Mexican or Italian or whatever, it's going to be there. It's actually, when my sister comes with me and we wander around, and look, I get overwhelmed. I get so overwhelmed by the choices that I don't have anything. I might have a vegan cupcake, but I just go, I can't make up my mind. And Balfour's recently started to bring out a whole bunch of vegan pies. So that's mainstream. 4 and 20, they brought out plant-based pies. So where, you know, I'm living in a world now where awareness has grown, obviously through social media. It's just growing so swiftly, and you know, so many young people, you know, they just come into the movement, and there's no more ridicule. That those days are long gone. And I mean, obviously there's so much more to do, so much more. You know, there's still the most horrendous things happening in this country with feedlots and intensively reared chickens and pigs, and you know, so-called sport called pig dogging, and a myriad of things. So there's lots to be changed, but that's what keeps me going. I see changes happening, and that gives me hope for the future.
I definitely agree with you in as much as it's fabulous to see the younger generation really taking this on board as well, and seeing it for what it is quite clearly, and making those simple changes themselves. But as a united voice, we definitely can make. We're the ones that make the change.
Yep.
And so from that perspective, I mean, I know, you know, you're talking about the vegan festival before, and by the way, next time it's on, I'm coming with you.
31st of October and the 1st of November is a date.
Right, we are there, and I will make sure you have something more than a cupcake. Anyway, I digress. But you know, as our audience knows as well, I've spent a great amount of time living in the United States, and it was really interesting when we're talking about being vegan, and the term vegan, you know, years ago it was sort of like, you know, oh, that's a bit woo-woo. And I'll never forget flying into San Francisco one day, and my taxi driver was taking me to my hotel, and he offered me a cake because it was a fair drive. And I said, oh, no, it's fine, thank you. I'm a bit hungry. He said, oh, no, you'll love these. He said, my wife made them this morning. They're vegan. And I said to him, what's vegan? And so that was my introduction to, you know, for the next 35 minutes, he explained to me, and this is going back, this is about 25 years ago.
Wow.
And now, whenever, well, not at the moment, obviously, because of travel restrictions, but every time I am in America, I've noticed, it's like when you buy a red car, all of a sudden you see red cars everywhere.
Yeah.
I've noticed the massive increase in plant-based restaurants and cafes, and I think that that's the core too. The plant-based movement is quite strong. You and I were talking before about our fabulous one of our contributors to the BoomerBabeslife magazine is a beautiful BoomerBabeslife member, Debbie Chu, and her YouTube channel is Chew on Vegan. Our audience should be familiar with that as well.
So cool.
Her recipes are absolutely fantastic, and she has said in an interview as well that she's seeing, just like you, that there is such a massive increase and interest, but also a taking on of that health aspect of being vegan. It's happiness in a, it's just happiness in a bubble, really, isn't it?
It is. It is, because it's win-win. And when people say, when people are despairing, they say, well, what can I do? Me, one person. And it's like, just go vegan. And that will save X amount of water, X amount of pollution, X amount of lives, the whole thing. Some people become vegan because of their health, some because of the environment, and some because of animals. Whatever reason. But during the pandemic, a lot more people are turning to veganism because, all of these pandemics are zoonotic diseases, and we know that you can't stuff 250,000 animals in a tiny place in confinement and not expect there's going to be some sort of horrible fallout between beings, and it's happening. And I'm watching all this really closely, and I've been aware that the whole zoonotic thing is making people rethink what they eat.
Speaking of COVID then, I mean, obviously it's a crazy world that we're living in right now, and, the new norm is taking hold. And what have you got planned for the next 12 months? What's on the horizon for Lynda Stoner?
We've been working remotely since March, and I'm not being flippant about the pandemic. Oh my goodness, anything but. It's just been horrendous, and the toll on human life and businesses and all manner of things. But for me personally, working from home is it's business as usual, and we have a Zoom meeting once a week. I go into the office once a week and do any mail or whatever needs to be done. So it's a conversation that we've been having is, do we need an office? Because productivity has been high. It saves on time. A couple of my colleagues, it takes them at least 3 hours there and back, and that's, precious time. And so oddly, there are some flip sides to being locked down. So, and I don't go out very much anyway, except for the beach. So, and that sounds so selfish, and I don't mean it to be, but that's, we'll just keep doing what we do.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty similar story for most people around the world now. Working from home and remote businesses and online and doing everything online is, it's adapting and changing, which is what we have to do. Lynda, if I always ask my guests this question, and you're not going to escape it. So if you had an 8-year-old Lynda in front of you now, what advice would you give to her for the future?
I would tell her to believe in herself. I would tell her that no matter how many naysayers say you can't do this, or I would say you hold fast and just believe in yourself. And I would tell her that whatever sort of sarcasm or negativity, if you believe in something in the pit of your stomach, if you believe that, then don't let anyone stop you doing what you believe in, because lots of people will rush and say, oh, you can't do that because they want to protect you, or they don't want you to be embarrassed, or whatever the thing is. But if it's burning inside, you can go for it. That's what I would tell her.
Great advice. Great advice. Thank you so much. Lynda, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you as our very special guest today on this
And just
episode.
gorgeous. Jaynie, it's been absolutely beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you for all that you're doing as well, and we wish you all the best for the future in everything you do. Are you writing a book, Lynda?
No, I think about it from time to time, and then I think it would be a warts and all book, and I'm not prepared to do that. And then I can't do a sort of glossed over version of it. So then I just go, no, I'm not doing it.
Oh, well, in that case, we will just continue having podcasts with you, and we'll just lay it all out in the podcast.
All right, but I can't wait to read your book. I really
that'll be in the post very soon to you. But Lynda, thank you once again. We do really appreciate your valuable time and the incredible work that you're especially now doing, following your dream, your passion, everything that you love within your role as CEO of Animal Liberation of New South Wales. And so thank you for your time. We really do appreciate having you.
Thank you. It's been a joy, Jaynie. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
You are welcome. And if you've enjoyed listening to this Sheroes Unlimited podcast as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you, make sure that you check out all of the other episodes that we've got with amazing women over 50 who are just inspirational in absolutely everything they do. How can you hear them? Well, just the same way as you are listening to this one now. You've either got this podcast from our website at www.BoomerBabeslife.com, or you've got it from one of the great streaming apps that are available, including iTunes and Spotify. We're on them all. Just look it in and put Sheroes Unlimited and you'll find us there. And don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode as well. And if you enjoyed this, as I mentioned before, as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you, share it. We want to get the word out. We especially want to get the word and the message out that Lynda has shared with us today about animal liberation and animal welfare. It's a very important community topic that we all need to get involved in, especially us girls over 50. So if you'd like more information about that, just have a look below here underneath this podcast. All the details are there, including the website, which is www.al.org.au. That's where you can find out a little bit more information. But in the meantime, wherever you are in this amazing, beautiful world of ours, I hope you have an absolutely fabulous day, and I look forward to having your company next time on Sheroes Unlimited. Hi, I'm Jaynie Morris, founder and Chief Experience Officer at BoomerBabeslife. It's been our absolute pleasure having you listening in, tuning in to this latest podcast that we have created just for you. Gorgeous, amazing women over 50 around the world, because that's what BoomerBabeslife community is all about. Everything that we do, everything that we create, we have you in mind. We want to bring to you valuable content that helps inspire you, starts making you think a little bit more, helps empower you, helps to give you ideas and information that can help you. So if you've enjoyed this episode, which I'm sure that you have, we would love you to help us share it with the world. So please share this, please like, and of course comment. Give us your feedback, send us all of your details, and let us know what you're thinking. And of course, if you've got any topics that you would like us to highlight in any of our podcasts, please let us know that as well. Just send an email to info@boomerbabeslife.com.au. And of course, check everything else out at our website, boomerbabeslife.com. Everything that you need to know, every tool, every video, every podcast. We've got a fabulous shop there that's got some brilliant inspirational books and audios for you as well. And of course, also at our website at boomerbabeslife.com, you'll find out how you can get your latest issue of our Boomer Babes Life magazine for women over 50. So once again, thank you so much for joining us, and wherever you are in this amazing world of ours, please have an absolutely fabulous day.